I had a conversation with Leon when I met him for the first time in 2019. He came to see Bonang and I. Bonang is my predecessor and the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa before me. He came to see us about the challenge that we were facing at the country at the time around energy security. We were doing a lot of work as BLSA around trying to solve for the issue of energy security and obviously wanted us to collaborate. It was very interesting because we were trying to find a way of how we amend the Electricity Regulation Act in this country to allow for private sector participation, to allow for what we have in the country at the moment, where we have the rooftop solar panels, where we have private sector who is actually participating in the generation of electricity. In our meeting, Leon says, we don't need an overhaul of the Act to be able to deal with the issue of energy security in this country. All we need is the insertion of one word in the Act to allow for private sector participation. He says the word that we need to insert is not. So once we've inserted the word not, that clause, whatever clause it was, I forget, would read, the state is not the sole generator of electricity in this country. I think that simplicity was very profound for me. It was very striking. It stayed with me. What Leon offers in this book is precisely that elegant simplicity. 250 pages of solutions, 250 pages of proposals, of ideas, of concepts, of suggestions of what we need to do to deal with the issues that we face in this country. I don't know how many of you are aware of the fact that in 1986, Leon authored a book called The Solution. Height of apartheid, state of emergency declared in the country, Leon decided to come up with a set of bold proposals to deal with the political impasse that we had in the country at that time. The ideas that he offers here are wide-ranging. They are very thought-provoking. They are boldly unapologetical in true Leon style. He talks about the fact that maybe South Africa should actually welcome dumping. He talks about the fact that maybe we should give welfare to the rich instead of welfare to the poor. He talks about the fact that maybe we need to abolish protectionism in this country. But make no mistake, as wild as his ideas are, they are quite rational, they are quite logical. He offers a very compelling intellectual rigor that underpins the ideas that he actually has in this book. From a BLSA perspective, I'm a huge proponent, and business community in this country is a huge proponent of reforms. And indulge me just for 5 minutes, because I don't think we normally do a good enough job to talk about why reforms matter. And what you have in this book is really a set of reforms, set of proposals of what we need to do to change this country around. The importance of reforms for me is actually very simple. Reforms are a way of de-risking the economy from politics. By implementing reforms, we are making sure that our economy is protected from the political volatility. Simple example, energy. The reason we have energy security in the country today, the reason we have ended structural load shedding, is because we managed to implement the necessary reforms in energy to allow for private sector participation, to do exactly what Leon was proposing in 2019, to ensure that the state is not the sole generator of electricity in this country. Through that reform, you're sitting in a totally different country from an energy security perspective. But I think the most important thing for me, as far as reforms are concerned, is that if we were to experience what we experienced in 2009 as a country, in 2029 we are going to elections. From an ANC perspective, Paul Mashatile has been tabbed as the next president with all his scandals. So if we were to have a state capture 2.0 as a country, we would be better off from an economic perspective precisely because we have implemented certain reforms. You are going to have a government that presides over a country with less state dominance. So if they decided to loot Eskom blue or grey or red, if they decided to loot Eskom again, at least we know that the generation of electricity in this country is no longer dependent on Eskom. You have private sector generating electricity. Transport and logistics is the same thing. We have now introduced private sector participation in Transnet, or rather in transport logistics. If they decide to loot Transnet again, then we know that our economy is not going to be fundamentally undermined. Because even if the state can't do transport logistics, then you are going to have the private sector making sure that imports and exports function as they should. That is the importance of reforms. That is what this book offers. It offers solutions about what we need to do as a country to ensure that our economic well-being is not compromised in the case of this economy sitting in wrong political hands, as it were. Leon also goes on to say that the solutions that we need to put in place as a country are not insurmountable. To change South Africa around is not impossible. We can actually do it. But he says for us to be able to do that, we need the right people. We need the right political leaders. Without the right political leaders, you won't be able to do that. So I think that is what, when Tim and I had the conversation, and Leon and I had the conversation about writing the foreword for this book, and when I went through it, and I looked at the solutions that it offered, I think it actually, I don't even think I've actually done this book justice with the foreword that I've actually offered here. But I really think that a lot of us tend to actually have these discussions at Bryce, at our air-conditioned offices in Sandton and in Stellenbosch. Very few of us think about putting pen to paper and offering solutions of what needs to be done to solve for the challenges that we actually have in this country. And Leon has actually dared to do that. That for me is the true definition of leadership. It doesn't stop at talking about the problems that we have as a country. It continues to offer solutions of what we need to do to change the issues that we actually face in this country. So Leon, well done. Thank you for this set of initiatives. Thank you for striking out boldly as you have done for most of your life. This book, if we were to even implement half of the suggestions that are contained here, we will be sitting in a fundamentally different country. It has been an absolute honor to write the foreword for this book. You need to get a copy. It is a very compelling and a very important read. Thank you very much for coming out, ladies and gentlemen.